Our mission is to inspire, educate, and motivate young people across the Caribbean. This is the Vision Seekers podcast, where views collide, founded by Amanda Webley and Shawala Richards during the COVID-19 pandemic. But VSP is more than two. We are a team dedicated to seeking out and presenting solutions to the problems that matter to you through open and honest conversations. Stay tuned.
This episode's discussion will contain themes of sexual abuse and violence against women, which may be triggering to some audiences. You have been warned. Europeans who visited Africa prior to the development of the transatlantic slave trade were both fascinated and appalled by what they perceived to be immoral and primitive, climate-appropriate dress, a tradition of polygamy, and dances that were highly suggestive in comparison to their own, resulted in their view of Black people as less than, particularly Black women, and began a long-held stereotype. The Black woman, now enslaved and by nature promiscuous, is a Jezebel desperate for any and all male attention. Welcome to another episode of the Vision Seekers podcast. My name is Amanda Webley, and I'll be your host for today's discussion on the over-sexualization of young girls and women in Jamaica. Joining me are Tyrese Henry, the show's resident audio engineer, here to give his perspective on this issue. Also, Shaniel Swaby, a friend of mine and an up-and-coming podcaster who teaches her listeners ways of dealing with and healing from trauma. Can you tell us a bit about your podcast, Shaniel?
Hello, thank you for having me. So my podcast name is Letters to Our Blackness, and I would be discussing the issues of colorism within the Black community, and I offer a platform and a safe space where Black women and men can come together and share their experiences and, as you said, heal from the trauma within our Black community.
All right. Happy to have you, and Tyrese as well. Before we get into the questions, I want to define a few terms that may come up throughout our discussion. So the first thing I want to define is sexualization. So this is synonymous with sexual objectification, where a person's value is held based only on their sexual appeal. The second thing I want to define is hypersexualization. This is like an extreme case of sexualization where a person's physical appearance, a person's posture, facial expression, and dress is overly sexualized. So the last thing I want to define is patriarchy. So this is a social system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. The first thing I want to ask is sexualization really an issue? I'm sending this question to Tyrese. Is sexualization of women really an issue? Isn't it natural for men to be attracted to women? Tyrese?
Sexualization in Jamaica, I don't believe men over-sexualize women. Yes, I do believe it is natural. I won't bring up any biblical references to this. However, I'll just reference to nature. A female plant will, will be fertilized by a male plant. As in humans, the same thing with, how a male is attracted to a female. Let me go into physics. Opposite attract. A positive and another positive will repel. So if nature has it that, opposites attract, I don't believe that we over-sexualize women.
Shaniel, are you of the same opinion? There's no sexualization in Jamaica. There is no issue with the sexualization of girls and women in Jamaica. What do you have to say?
Well, Jamaica being a very hyper-masculinized society, I do have to disagree and state that the over-sexualization of young girls and women is present widely in Jamaica, especially since Jamaica has a high case of rape and pedophiles, that are present. And if we take a look at our music industry, at our dance hall industry, where they are continuously over-sexualizing women in their music, I would strongly have to disagree with Tyrese. Right, Tyrese?
Yes, Tyrese.
Yes, and also how men speak to women in public, on the bus, on the streets, how men approach women. And it's not just simply a hello, good afternoon, good morning, and keep it going. They have to speak about their bodies, right? They have to speak about their attraction, their looks. So I do believe that over-sexualization is a very huge issue in Jamaica that really needs to be solved.
I realized that you mentioned the high case of rape in Jamaica. I just want to bring up some statistics that we found. According to the UN, every 10 minutes somewhere in the world, a teenage girl is murdered. And in 9 Caribbean countries investigated, 48% of women surveyed reported that they experienced some form of unwanted sexual advance before the age of 18. So this one is for Tyrese. You said there is no issue of sexualization in Jamaica. Do you think the statistics about the predatory behavior of men in our region is unrelated to the over-sexualization of women? How does this come up? How is this issue coming about if it is not because of the over-sexualization of women, the culture of over-sexualization? Sorry, go ahead.
Influences are everywhere, right? Sexualization of women aren't all the causes for rape. There are other influences that can increase rape. I don't believe it's because of men sexualizing women. We have other reasons as well why a man may rape a female. It's not only because of sexualization. Also, did you state the year when that study was done?
2012.
2012. This is 2021. How can't you find a more recent study?
Right. So it's funny. Research is not really done about this. It's like there's not a lot of information out there about this topic. It's not really investigated or spoken about much. So it's the most recent thing we could find relating to the Caribbean.
It's opinionated, right?
It's not opinionated. This is
I have a belief. Men sexualizing women isn't the case. I believe women are just taking it their personal. They're misinterpreting what men do in nowadays society, right? You know, the man psychologist here, he's sexualizing, he's just respecting her. Women need to understand the difference between sexualizing them and respecting them. If I say, hey, good morning.
Wait, Shaniel, let Tyrese finish first. Go ahead, Tyrese.
Okay, if I say, good morning, you look wonderful today. I'm not sexualizing her, I'm just saying, hey, she looks good. You feel me?
Right, really, so that's not what we're saying right now. Sexualization, let me go back to the definition. At the start of this episode, I gave some definition. Sexualization, this is synonymous with sexual objectification. This is where a person's value is only held based on their sexual appeal. That's the only value they have. They're an object.
Yeah, and I believe that men don't really see women as sexual objects. We see them as women as well. There are men out there who respects a lot of women. Again, it's not only because of their sexual.
You're mentioning a man approaches a woman and says, hello, good afternoon. That's not what we're discussing right now. We're discussing the issue when that's well, Shaniel wants to say something. I'm going to allow you to go ahead and share before I finish.
Yeah, so question on Tyrese. Are you saying that women are being respected when men speak on their bodies? Complete strangers are making references to their bodies, how their bust looks or how their buttocks looks or what they can do with it. Is that being respectable, and isn't that over-sexualizing?
I believe on how it's approached. If a guy goes to a female and say, "Hey, you're looking wonderful today," and is complimenting on her, he's not sexualizing her. He's just complimenting on something that probably the woman is, purposely showing and say, "Hey, she feels confident in this," and the guy sees and say, "Hey, you look wonderful." It's not sexualizing her. It's just complimenting her. So, like I said, it's based on how the female, interprets it. If she interprets it on her always being sexualized, then she's always gonna feel threatened by a man, because a man will, there are kind men out there who would want to compliment a woman, and it's as I said, opposites attract. It's gonna be natural for men to just say, "Hey, you look wonderful." Don't think it's just sexualizing you. It's just we being a good human being.
Yes, saying you're wonderful is a good human being, but I'm talking about going to the extent of sexualizing her body. Why is sexualizing her body a compliment? Why do you see that as a compliment? Number one. And number two, you said she purposefully is showing her body. So you are saying that she's asking to be sexualized by that man. You're saying that that man is not doing anything wrong by sexualizing her body because she purposefully put her body out there. And so so there's a must that it has to be talked about or highlighted.
I think it's an issue with the approach. So I'm going to ask Shaniel a question. Is it common for how Tyrese was saying that a man approaches you and says, "Hello, good afternoon"? How common is that in Jamaica? In your opinion, is there a problem with the approach for men to approach you like that, saying, "Hello, good afternoon, how are you? You look lovely today"?
I would have to say it depends on the woman. Not everyone likes to be talked to by a stranger. But I would have to say, just by simply saying, "Hello, you look beautiful," I would say that's not that doesn't have to be a issue or problem. The person can just say thank you and go about their way. But I think it's what comes after that, and also how it's being said to the woman. Because oftentimes men don't really just leave it just as a "hello, you're beautiful." They normally take it a step further. Right. That leads to the woman being uncomfortable. So if it's simply just a "hello, you look beautiful," then he allows the woman to go about her day. That is perfectly fine. But to go a step further, asking for her number or speaking about her body, that would be very uncomfortable for the woman.
May I add? Well,
go ahead.
Can I say something? A male say hello to a female. Not all males will see a female and ask for their numbers. In Jamaica, I don't believe that's a problem. If a typical male sees another female and compliments her, he won't then attack her. I believe what you're saying is really biased. It's real opinionated. I believe it's probably what you experience in your area, but in other areas in Jamaica that I've been, men don't do that.
Right, so it's an issue of you being a man, Terry, so it wouldn't be the same experience. Well, okay, so right now we don't want to belittle somebody's experience. Shaniel has her experience, and you can't say, "Oh," it's not for you to say, "Oh, that's not true." It's your opinion, it's her experience, right? And that's why we're here to share.
So, can I respond, Tyrese?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
So, Tyrese, you're saying that in Jamaican society, men do not ask women for their numbers.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying, if a guy compliments a female, he wouldn't go on like wouldn't pass the boundaries and doing every single thing that you say he would. Not every Jamaican male would do that. There are Jamaican males who are nice guys. We respect females. We see a female, we say, hey, you're good, you're wonderful. That's that.
Yes,
We
but
respect their boundaries. I'm not done. We
yes,
respect their
but
boundaries. Right. I have to respect them boundaries now. There are other males now. Like I said, it depends on the influences and how a Jamaican male is brought up. If a Jamaican male gives into their instincts, they'll do whatever you're condemning men to be, over sexualizing them and all that jazz. But there are males whose influences make them say, hey, a female body is hers, so why sexualize it that much?
yes, so not every man is going to do that. You're correct, but that doesn't take away from the fact that there are a good amount of men who over-sexualize women. And that is the discussion that we're having. We're not generalizing it and saying, well, not all men, to invalidate the experiences that women actually have in society. We're trying to be aware of what is actually taking place in the Jamaican society and speak on it.
So where are we? Do you think Jamaican culture encourages predatory behavior? Culture meaning social media, music, dance, dress, what is normal for Jamaican people, for Jamaican women?
Does it allow?
Does it encourage? Yeah. Does it encourage predatory behavior?
Well, I wouldn't say it encourages predatory behavior. I would just say that it trains men to objectify women and over-sexualize them.
Could you expound?
But I wouldn't say that it encourages predatory behavior. So going back to our culture and how men are being trained in the dancehall industry to view women, how they speak about women in their songs, I think that men are being trained to mostly over-sexualize and objectify women rather than being predatory. I think predatory goes into a whole nother context, in a whole nother category.
Okay. Right. So you're saying you're agreeing with Tyrese when you say that predatory behavior is not related to the sexualization of women and girls. The culture, okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. Because when you talk about the culture, and you made reference to things like social media and
music.
Dance.
Yeah, and music.
I would say the immediate response is objectification over sexualization. And then what stems from that would be sexual abuse.
So you're saying there is a relation, but you're saying the opposite. So you're saying
the opposite from?
You said that there is no relation between the culture of sexualization, the culture of sexualizing, women and abuse. And then you went into explaining why that is. So I'm a bit confused.
Because you said predatory. Now, predatory to me, even though I can't really, can you define what you mean by predatory first?
Okay, so I started with some statistics. According to the UN, every 10 minutes, somewhere in the world a teenage girl is murdered, right? And then I went into more specific things for the Caribbean. 48% of women surveyed reported that they experienced some form of unwanted sexual advance before the age of 18. What do you think is the reason for this?
My question?
Yeah, go ahead, Tyrese.
I believe this because of influences from a child. When you're younger, they learn things, and when you're older, they enact it. However, in another household where the child is influenced by positive things, that child will do the right thing. In the Caribbean, no, there are many other influences that can make a child do certain things, like let us say, is exposed to things at a young age. We know all the households are different, or let us say that child, affiliates him or himself with, other peers who are bad influences, and they enact the poor, the over-sexualizing behavior while adults. I believe this is more prevalent in the Caribbean, mainly because of how the Caribbean economical structure is. However, I believe that's it.
So, can I ask Tyrese a question?
Yes, you may.
So you are blaming the child for their own sexual abuse. You're saying it's the child to learn certain things and act it out. You're not blaming the man who's responsible for that sexual abuse. It's not the man's fault. It's the child's and what the child exposes his or herself to.
I'm talking about the man as a child. A man grows up, will learn other things. That man will be, that growing child, that growing man will be exposed to things that will make him make choices that's unfavorable to some women, henceforth sexualization and all. There are other men who are exposed to positive things that's again sexualized, not of sexualizing women. So they won't fall into the category that UN classified as 45 or 48%. So it's not, I'm not saying it's the child's fault. It's the unknown or the random influences that they encountered in their life.
What are these random influences? Do you think it's our culture or music? Why do you think some people, like, what are these? You mentioned some bad things that they're exposed to from a young age. What exactly do you mean by that? Social media, music, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm talking social media.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking social media. I'm talking the peers at school, and those peers at school will be influenced by something. I'm talking about maybe bad parents who allow their kids to see things that they're not ready for, or maybe I'm talking about, let's say a kid is going home or running a bus and the driver is there talking, you get me, and a child will want to know what it is. Well, let me say a male child who we are curious creatures after all, will want to know what that is, and then because of the net and all, we go on the internet and we'll find things, and let us say we want to experience it for ourselves. So then we'll see a real human being, a female, to enact these things from. So a child like that is encoded all the bad influences to make him do the over-sexualizing thing that's UN.
I would like to respond. We'll have my own response. If we're discussing where is it that men find or develop these type of behaviors, I would have to say that as Tyrese mentioned, that it can start in the household, how that child has grown. So going back to how Jamaica is a hyper-masculinized and very patriarchal society, men's sexuality is not policed. It's the women's sexuality that is policed. So within the household, you would normally have the parent not really paying attention to the boy child sexual behaviors. So it's actually encouraged for that male child to engage in sexual activities at a young age, because based on the patriarchal society that we live in, that is one of the definitions of being a man, quote unquote. So it does start in the household, where in particular the father is the one who would encourage the son to go out there and sexualize a woman, or try to coerce a woman, or well, in this case, a young girl, because since it starts at a young age, particularly like teenage years, there are some men who would say that they have been engaging in sexual activities from they were like 13 years old. So it actually does start young. And so they are encouraged at a young age to go out there and try to coerce, or if coerce is a strong word, well, to get women, young girls in bed, and even women, So it stems from there, from the household, and then the culture further encourages it, so the man or young boy would start to believe that this is the right behavior. This is what it means to be a man.
Right. So
I have something
the
to add.
issue of okay, go ahead, Tyrese.
So I don't disagree with Ms. Swaby. Then again, when you said the father teaching the son, we should remember that the father was once a child too. So if we're gonna see where sexualizing women really start, it's a hard question. I mean, that's a hard question to ask. What was the first influence that started this chain reaction of men seeing women like this? So I agree. I don't disagree with her.
Yeah, so it's going to be a cycle, a never-ending cycle, because Jamaica continues to push this over-sexualization and objectification narratives.
So how do we fix it? How do we break that cycle?
I was about to ask that question to Miss Wavy.
I'm asking you, Tyrese. What do you think a possible solution to this is?
I'm thinking, and I'm
so
saying...
this very real issue now that you realize it is.
No, it's not that. I'm just saying, should this issue be fixed though? Should we take away that element in my mind that makes them attracted to a female?
There's a difference between being attracted. Okay, you're attracted to somebody. How do you approach them? It's the approach. And right. Should you be approaching young children? We're talking about young girls and not just women.
Every guy has a mind and they should control themselves. Every female is attractive and young male should learn to control themselves. A parent should teach a young male at a young age to control when to approach and how to approach. If that element and control is missing, then I believe we're gonna end up in this dilemma that we call sexualizing or over-sexualizing women. Yes, in the media, males sing about booty this and all that, sexualizing of women and all. That's, if I should explain more about that, I believe that's economics, because women themselves love that type of entertainment. But how to fix this problem? I believe that just lies in the home, and it lies on our human being psychology. Should a male be controlled? Should we really see a female and not over-sexualize them? Well, if it hurts them, yes, we should stop. you should never make a female feel uncomfortable. But there are some females out there who loves to be sexualized and don't see it as a problem. And there are those who see the sexualizing as disgusting. So to fix this problem I don't think we have a definitive answer to fix this. It depends,
Well,
I
I
guess.
can have a few solutions. So, since we can say that it starts in the household, I do believe that parents should really take themselves out of this patriarchal mindset that young boys or their sons' sexuality should not be policed. So we should actually start to police our young boys' sexuality and have them learn that sex is not for children. How about we start there? Sex is not for children. And I would have to repeat that sex is not something that children should be engaging in,
I
especially
agree.
when we understand the complexities that come with sex. We do understand that it has a deeper spiritual meaning and just the dangers that can happen to children when they engage in sex, at a young age. So I do believe that we must first start to teach our young boys or try to educate them and tell them that sex is not for them and they should wait until they become adults, right? Also, I do think that we need to start to break down the patriarchy, break down the problematic ideas and belief systems that it entails. For example, they have defined men as people who have to over-sexualize women, right? So in order to be a man, you have to go out there, over-sexualize them, objectify them, right? So we have to first start to unlearn these belief systems. I also believe that we should try to stop normalizing these behaviors. So our music normalize these behaviors, the way we speak to each other, the way we, socialize. Women are walking on the road and they're being catcalled. Men are talking about what they can do with their bodies and just how we interact with each other and socialize with each other on a whole. These problematic things need to stop being normalized, right? I also believe that we should start to speak up, like how we're speaking now on this podcast about this issue. We should start to speak up, especially not only privately like now, but also publicly on the road, on the streets, when we see a young girl or a woman being over-sexualized, being objectified. We should try to not turn a blind eye to it, but actually to speak up, right, about it, in hopes that would start to really bring healing and bring solutions to such a problematic experience that we are encouraging in our society.
I guess I agree to what you said for the first part. You said to start at home. I believe that will bring about some change, but I don't believe it will bring about the change where men will stop. There will be a point where the male would be, will be, exposed to females, and then he has to make a choice and to control. if he that choice still remains in his hands, whether his parents influenced him, from a good age to say, hey, females are to be respected, females are precious jewels and all that jazz. Still in his adulthood, he's still gonna be faced by this decision that, hey, should he control himself and over complimenting a woman and every single thing she has, or should he just control? So it is a change, but I don't believe that will bring about the change. It still lies in the male choice and to do what is good or bad. And on the topic of patriarchy, I don't really see where the patriarchy has a hand in the over-sexualizing thing. Patriarchy is it goes way back, way biblical, way can I say some of it is natural as well, but that's another discussion for another time.
Yeah.
I believe that if we had this defeated and negative mindset towards big issues like racism, right, I wouldn't think that we would have such a huge progress that we have now, right? I believe that we would still have masses, beating on our backs. I think we would still have Jim Crow laws, right? If we had this type of negative attitude where we believe that if we did nothing because, white people would still be very racist. I mean, it all really and truly depends on them. And if they want to change, we would still be running from being lynched. You understand? So I do think that we can see change, right? We have to start somewhere. And even though it may take a while, just as how, racism is still ongoing, but we still see progress, right? I believe that progress can still happen, but we just need to start. We just need to start, and we just need to have that positive mindset, because we have to understand that women are currently going through such torturous sexual abuse by the hands of men due to them being over-sexualized, and objectified. Women are being harmed, still being harmed on a daily basis. So we have to do something. Try to put yourself in women's shoes and understand that women and young girls are being harmed by men daily. Something has to be done.
That's true. Something needs to be done. Racism isn't over-sexualization of females isn't racism. Racism lies in a choice.
That was just an example. I wasn't relating it to connecting it to
I'm
that.
just saying, if you use that example to justify why we need to bring about a change, like, yeah, I know your change will bring about some change, but over-sexualizing women will always exist. It will, like you said earlier.
Yeah, just as how racism would always exist. But the fact of the matter is the experience.
Not so overt, it's not normalized, right?
Yes. The experience that we're facing with racism isn't as horrid as it was years ago. And we are totally grateful for that. Racism isn't going anywhere. That's a fact. But it all lies in us trying to have better experiences in each generation, right? Because our grandparents' generation, that has been a completely different experience that we are having. We have more freedom than our grandparents. And that's the idea, trying to get better.
Yeah, I agree there. I don't disagree with that. It's once we stop fighting something, then maybe it will supersede what we really, supersede the moral thing about it. In the Bible, does the Bible, Amanda, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, ask your question.
Miss Swaby, do you think the Bible promotes sexualization of women?
No, I don't think that it promotes sexualization of women. I do believe that it polices women's sexuality. So it does quite the opposite.
All right. Okay. Then maybe.
While we're on the topic of policing women's sexuality, I want to bring in some more statistics into the conversation. 1 in every 4 women in Jamaica has been physically abused by a male partner. In our society, the ideal woman may be seen as obedient or submissive to her partner. Do you think this mindset is connected to the high rates of violence against women in Jamaica?
Are there other factors that can increase that too? Like, let's say employment rate, how the female is, but I don't want to justify something like that. Yes, that's true.
How a female is? Can you just explain what you mean? How a female is causes her to be physically abused by her partner?
If a female is, there are men out there who can control themselves. When a female is, annoys them. So because a male who doesn't control himself will hit the female, that is totally wrong. I don't support it. You get me? But then again, it's a factor for why a male do something. It doesn't justify the act. I know it doesn't justify the act, but for every effect, there's a cause. And let's just say that there's some females too who do admit that they know themselves that they are wrong. And I've met females who have
So Tyrese, you're saying that when a woman is annoying, sometimes she deserves to be hit.
No, I didn't say deserves.
It's justified. There's some cases where you said that some women know. I'm quoting you. Some women know that they're this way.
Yes, they do.
So,
but that doesn't mean they deserve to be hit. A woman isn't a child that needs scolding. A woman is another human being that we need to respect. There are males out there who can't control themselves. Again, we can't discern that fact. And if a female is being annoying or causing harm to the man's mental state, he shouldn't hit her. He should go in a room or probably play games or something. We're a male. We protect females. We don't hurt them. That's what a male is. I'm not saying a female deserving it. They don't deserve to be hit. But like I said, for every effect, there's a cause. So if I am going to say, hey, I'm going to give a scenario. Let's say Mary annoys John. John, from a young age, has an anger issue. So Mary annoys John. John hits Mary. What John should have done, John should get his anger issues checked. Mary, on the other hand, she's a female. I can't stop a female from being a female. So, but what John can do, John can work on himself, to control himself, to be a better man that protects his female rather than hitting her. This is another topic, but I'm sorry if I'm straying from it.
No, you aren't. You said something. It can't stop a female from being a female. Let's ask a woman this question, Shaniel. 1 in 4 women in Jamaica has been physically abused by a male partner. In our society, the ideal woman may be seen as being obedient or submissive to her partner. Do you think this is related to the high rates of violence in Jamaica?
Most definitely, because with submission, how submission is defined, in a patriarchal context, it is defined as a woman belonging to a man, right? So the woman becomes the man's property, which means that he can...
She's an object.
Yeah, so she's an object to the man, right? So patriarchy teaches the man that he can do anything with his object because a woman must submit to him, right? So most definitely, that is going to lead to physical violence. And on top of that, the physical violence is going to be justified because in the eyes of men, they can do whatever they want to their property.
Mm.
And recently, if we're gonna bring into, religion into it, Pastor Michael Todd said that abuse isn't a good enough reason for a woman to file for divorce. Right?
Wow.
So, yes, yes, it was astonishing, right? So, there are many laws and rules, not just societal, but also religious, that, describe women as property for men.
Right. Do with them as you will.
Exactly. So it's not just sexual, it's not physical, right?
Anything to add, Tyrese, before we end?
Yeah, I do. I have a question for Miss Swaby. What the pastor said, do I agree? Do I disagree? I'll give my answer after I answer my question. What do you think of the term love is blind? What do you think that means, Miss Swaby?
As in,
love is
because
blind.
a woman loves her partner so much that she allows him to abuse her in any way or treat her
No, I'm
in
not
a
talking
very
about context.
degrading way. Well,
I'm talking
that's
about,
what I'm getting from it. Love is blind, that someone loved their partner so much that they allow certain negative treatment to happen.
So another question is, do you think love is blind is supported in the Bible?
No, I don't. I don't think it has anything to do with love, to be honest. Because at the standpoint, I believe that the Bible is very patriarchal. So it's just going to create certain rules and laws that benefit men. So I don't think it has to do anything with love, but more about dominance and power that is directed at men. I don't see where love plays a part. It's all about women being submissive to men.
But the question is, if you love someone, would you hurt them? How is love is blind related to this conversation, Tyrese? The objectification of women, the sexualization of women, the abuse of women. Can you just explain that to us?
I was thinking about what you said, the pastor guy said, abuse isn't enough for divorce. I thought maybe he said because love is blind. Maybe he's saying a woman should be blind to. Do I support this or no? I don't. A woman should be blind to whatever her male does to her. Then again, what Aman just said it. If you love your partner, you wouldn't hurt them. Henceforth, there wasn't love in that. There was no love in that relationship. I believe pastor should have specified way more. If a woman is being abused in a relationship, she should leave for her own safety. If she wants to stay, then maybe she knows that guy loves him, and maybe hitting her is a love language. I don't know. Humans are weird. I believe that's it, but I don't believe we can just say, hey, what the pastor said is, it's just it's a support of patriarchy. Yes, the Bible is highly written by men, and there's some women in the Bible as well. But
I mean, you're giving men the power to put women in harm and tell them that they can't leave. That's patriarchal to me. That's a man being dominant and can do whatever he wants to his object and get away with it. And that's what
Yeah,
patriarchy is all about. Men having power.
So the
that power
issue
on women and
right.
getting away from it.
So the issue is related.
Getting away with it.
So the issue is related to what it means to be a man. So the downright, the base issue of the sexualization of women, the abuse of women and girls, has to do with what we think a man should be. What is normal from a man in Jamaica? Sadly, that's all the time we have for this episode. To recap, today we discussed the country's hypersexualization of women and girls. We examined the issues, history, and cultural context, heard the male and female perspective on how traditional masculinity contributes to the sexualization of girls and women, and outlined potential solutions to this issue. Before we go, I'd like to remind you to never be afraid to speak up. Someone out there is interested in hearing what you have to say. Thank you for listening. Until next time, walk good.
Thank you for listening to this week's podcast episode. Now we'll present a poem written by Shaniel Swaby. It's Time.
It's Time by Shaniel Swaby. It's time. The time has come for little girls to be free. Free to laugh, play, and enjoy just being kids. But for how long? How long can we deal with the over-sexualization of our females, when quite often what we thought should have been left in the past constantly pull on the strings of our hearts? Young girls are being targeted because their curves and bodily shapes are often interpreted as signs of sexual offerings. The helpless cries because of those victimized, forcing our children to become adults long before their time. I mean, why should our girls and women change to meet the standards of society? When does trying to be beautiful and unique give others the impression that I am seeking sexual attention or approval? Or why is it that girls have to do more in an household to earn the title of being responsible and mature? It's time. It's time for women to feel safe in our Black communities.
This has been an episode of the Vision Seekers podcast. Together we can create a society that benefits us all. Send us an email at thevisionseekers.podcast@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube and Instagram at The Vision Seekers Podcast, and follow us on Twitter at Vision Seekers JA. We look forward to hearing from you.